Today, we meet Larry Lawton, a man whose life reads like a Hollywood script, complete with twists and turns and a remarkable transformation. Just like a movie, but it's real life. Join us as we delve into the life of Larry, a man who went from jewel thief to champion of change. As it turns out, crime might actually pay off, just not in the way you think. Welcome to Capers and Cocktails, a true crime podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously and gives you something to enjoy while you listen. The following content may be disturbing to some. Discretion is advised. If you're enjoying one of our themed cocktails, ensure you're of legal drinking age and have fun, but drink responsibly. Lawrence Robert Lawton was born in North Hempstead, New York on October 3, 1961. His first encounter with organized crime was through his father, a sheet metal worker who delivered bribes to the New York Mafia. Larry served as an altar boy at St. Francis de Chantal in the Bronx from 1st through 6th grade. He attended Lehman High School, but he did not graduate. Larry joined the Coast Guard in August 1979. He took part in the Mariel boat lift. The Mariel boat lift was a mass emigration of Cubans from Cuba's Mariel Harbor to the United States between April 15th and April 31st, 1980, triggered by the struggling Cuban economy. The term Marielito refers to these refugees. After 10,000 Cubans sought asylum at the Peruvian embassy, the Cuban government announced that anyone could just leave. The influx of refugees created political challenges for U.S. President Jimmy Carter. The U.S. Coast Guard and Larry played a significant role, seizing at least 1,400 boats in an attempt to block the flotilla. But many boats slipped by, and over 100,000 more Cuban and Haitian refugees continued to pour into Florida over the next 5 months. The boat lift ended in late October 1980, with over 125,000 Cubans reaching Florida. While in the Coast Guard, Larry earned his GED. He left in 1983, and instead of using that GED to get a job that takes the taxes out of your check, he started his criminal career, mostly through loan sharking and being a bookie. He bought an Italian pizza shop in North Lauderdale, Florida, but he eventually set it on fire to commit insurance fraud. And then Larry started robbing heists. His first was when he was 28, and it was an inside job to collect insurance money. Then he moved to robbing jewelry stores along the Atlantic coast, leveraging his connections within the Gambino crime family to sell the stolen goods. The Gambino crime family is one of the 5 families that dominate organized crime activities in New York City. Named after its founder, Carlo Gambino, it has been involved in various illegal activities, including extortion, racketeering, and drug trafficking. Mulberry Street in Little Italy, Manhattan, was historically known as a hub for Italian immigrants and became synonymous with Italian-American culture, including its association with organized crime families like the Gambinos. Larry sold a lot of jewelry on Mulberry Street. And because our heisters today spent a lot of time in Little Italy, we are going to make an Italian drink that I have no doubt he enjoyed. Effervescent, tangy, with herbal notes, a slight bitterness, and a hint of sweetness, the Aperol Spritz is a true Italian classic. Known as the Spritz Veneziano, this cocktail soared to worldwide popularity in the 2000s, but its roots go back to the 50s. The Spritz concept itself originated in the 1800s. If you've ever dismissed this drink as overrated, think again. A perfectly made Aperol Spritz will prove it's worthy of all the buzz. For the cocktail, take 1 part Aperol, 1.5 parts sparkling wine, and add both to a champagne glass if you have one, with ice. Stir and then top with 1/2 part club soda and an orange wheel for garnish. The mocktail is a little more complicated since it's difficult to replicate the taste of Aperol, and this drink is a very different taste and feel, but still refreshing and makes you feel like you're sitting on Mulberry Street eating authentic Italian ravioli. Take 1.5 parts orange juice, 1 part grapefruit juice, and 1/2 part cherry juice and add to a champagne glass with ice and stir. Top with 1 part club soda and an orange wheel garnish and sip up. Jewelry robberies were Larry's bread and butter. During the 1980s and 1990s, Larry is believed to have heisted between 20 and 25 jewelry stores, stealing what he believed to be a total of approximately $15 to $18 million worth of valuable items, such as watches, diamonds, and other precious stones. He would later declare that he was the most prolific jewel thief in the United States in the 80s and 90s. Larry's typical jewel robbery MO involved entering a store, pretending to be a customer so that he could take a look at the store's security and identify the location of valuable jewelry. After scouting the location and finalizing the plans, Larry and his team would return to the store to commit the robbery. They would then restrain employees, break display cases, and quickly nab the jewels before escaping, with the help of a getaway driver waiting outside. In May 1994, Larry and two associates robbed a jewelry store in Daytona Beach, Florida. The thieves initially left jewelry at the store for repairs, but then returned later to rob it. In that crime, they managed to snag $500,000 worth of gold and diamonds. That's over $1 million in 2024 jewelry value. Then, in October 1994, Larry and four of his buds robbed a jewelry store in Palm Bay, Florida. The two store owners were tied up while the two robbed the store, and a third acted as lookout and the other as the getaway driver. The robbers took $480,000 or another cool 2024 mil worth of gold and diamonds. It was, at least at the time, the biggest robbery in the city's history. Local police believed there was a connection between these two crimes and decided to contact the FBI for backup. The investigations began. In 1996, a jeweler in Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, fell victim to a robbery. The perpetrators had scoped out the store the day prior, showing an interest in a particular ring. When they returned, they brandished what appeared to be firearms, seizing control of the situation and restraining the store owner. However, the owner managed to break free, seizing a .38 caliber pistol and firing 5 shots at the robbers as they ran away. Despite narrowly missing Larry, a bullet struck his brother. Larry later confessed that he had only wielded a BB gun during that heist. Following the Fairless Hills robbery, a jewelry store in Lower Bucks County grew wary of a suspicious individual they suspected of casing their premises for a potential robbery. They took note of the car's license plate and reported it, leading to the vehicle being linked to Larry. On December 2, 1996, Larry was apprehended by the FBI in Florida and charged with the armed robbery in Fairless Hills. Additionally, fingerprint evidence connected Larry to the October 1994 Palm Bay heist, resulting in charges for that crime as well. Larry declined a plea deal where he was offered a 3-year sentence in exchange for revealing his accomplices. These guys are not snitches. They are not interested in stitches. He was sentenced for racketeering and robbery. In 2002, he received an additional sentence for perjury. During his incarceration, Larry obtained a paralegal degree and worked as a gang mediator. He was held in various prisons, including Jessup in George Rikers Island in New York, Edgefield in South Carolina, and Yazoo City in Mississippi. He spent at least 27 days of his sentence in solitary confinement, and as you probably already know, prison is not for the weak. He would say later, quote, "I had my arms pinned down and I was beaten and peed on by the guards. I was kicked. My ribs were broken. I was beaten once a month," end quote. He saw inmates stabbed and instances of sexual violence. He would eventually serve 11 years in prison before his release in 2007. During that time, his children grew up, his grandmother died, and his father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. But we aren't having another case of crime doesn't pay. Today, crime does pay, in Larry's case at least, if you do a complete 180 life turn. While many thieves are remembered for their crimes, Larry has gained more recognition for his philanthropic efforts after he left prison. After his release in 2007, Larry relocated to Palm Bay, Florida, where he founded the Reality Check program, designed to educate teenagers about the repercussions of a criminal lifestyle. The program spans 4 hours and offers high school students an opportunity to fulfill part of the 75 hours of community service required for the Bright Future Scholarship program. Despite lacking formal education in child psychology or criminology, Larry draws from his life experiences to impart valuable lessons through his program. He's for sure a graduate of the School of Hard Knocks and Bad Choices. An independent quantitative analysis of the program was done by a Brevard Community College Honor Society class in 2012, and they found that the Reality Check program has a 90% success rate in keeping kids out of jail, and 31% had better school attendance. According to Larry, quote, "If you open a kid's mind and let them make the change, it lasts," end quote. Larry created a shorter DVD version of his program that law enforcement agencies across the country have bought to use in their own communities. In recognition of his efforts post-prison, Larry was granted the title of Honorary Police Officer by the Lake St. Louis, Missouri Police Department in 2013. This distinction marked him as the first former convict to receive such an honor from the department. The Lake St. Louis police chief praised Larry's message about the consequences of going to prison and said it is not just an average scared straight program. Larry and the police chief later appeared before the United States Congress in recognition of the program. Larry also established the Reality Check Foundation, a 501c3 charity that includes a mentoring program and an annual golf outing. Additionally, the foundation hosts an annual bowling tournament. When Larry isn't trying to keep people from going to prison in the first place, he's an advocate for prisoners and their rights and comments on the justice system. He spoke out when the Brevard County Jail reintroduced chain gangs as a pilot project with the goal of deterring crime in 2013. He said, quote, "Chain gangs send a bad message about the U.S." End quote. Instead, he proposed a better use of law enforcement resources would be to help inmates with drug addiction. Larry criticized Brevard County's decision to stop letters to inmates in 2013, expressing concern that some recipients could be innocent. He is also focused on issues such as the prison conditions and the financial burdens faced by unemployed ex-convicts after release. Larry has also highlighted the dangers of fentanyl-laced heroin. He has made numerous media appearances, including on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, Christian Broadcasting Network, and Fox News, often discussing crimes in the media as an expert on robberies. In 2010, he filmed the pilot and sizzle reel for Lawton's Law, a reality show centered on his work with at-risk youth. He also hosted a local talk radio show. Larry self-published his autobiography, Gangster Redemption, in 2012, covering his early life and criminal activities and post-release endeavors. In 2019, he collaborated with Vanity Fair on a video analyzing fictional robberies in movies like The Italian Job and Heat. And the true entrepreneur that he is, Larry's YouTube channel features videos analyzing heists in movies and video games, such as Grand Theft Auto 5, and also showcases his gameplay of Prison Architect. He's got almost 1.5 million subscribers, so I think he needs to be a consultant for me. But I don't plan on robbing any jewelry stores to get there, so... Thanks for hanging out with me. I'm glad that Larry cleaned up his life, and I'm also glad that he's making bank in his new life. Let this be a lesson to you. Crime does pay once you quit doing it. Yeah, got it. We're not big on celebrating Thanksgiving here on Capers and Cocktails, but we are big on being thankful, and I'm thankful for all of you. I know there are at least a few of you that are very faithful listeners, and I'm super thankful that you take the time out of your week to experience my passion. I know there's a lot of true crime podcasts out there, and I'm honored that I made it on the list. I'll see you next week, and remember, there are always alternatives to being a bank robbing mobster, and you can be like Larry and do some of those alternatives.